Good evening and welcome to 90 Minutes. It's Monday the 30th of November. I'm Simon Alamandy and as always, I'm joined by the ant to my deck. It's Pete Hill. Pete, they don't get us mixed up like they do them two, do they?
No, it's strange, actually. And deck always stand in alphabetical order. Ant on the left, deck on the right, you see. So if we did that, I suppose it'd have to be me on the left, you on the right, wouldn't it? Which just doesn't work on radio, does it?
It doesn't, no, not at all. Not at all. We've got all the usual coming up for everyone this week. We're going to be going through all the latest that has been happening this week and bringing you up to date as much as we are aware. And also at half-time, we're joined by Ben Hurd, the Hertford Town manager. And always a good chat with Ben, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, always a great chat with Ben. Look forward to that. And the only question I want to ask everybody out there is, having seen everything that's gone on this week, are you all as confused as I am?
I don't think, to be honest, I don't think anyone truly knows what is going on. There seems to be so many different ideas and ways that people are taking it. It needs some straight rules and someone straight talking to explain it in layman's terms to everyone, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does in terms of, in terms of grassroots sport. I mean, we're all going to be thrust into a three-tier system, but, tier one doesn't really exist, does it? Unless you're in Cornwall, the Isle of Man or the Isle of Wight. Well, good luck to everybody there. But that puts the rest of the country either in tier two and tier three. The majority of tier three, as I understand it, is kind of north of Watford, showing my southern roots. But it's just thrown everything into just a complete pandemonium of what's going to happen when we thought we were going to get a non-league football back. But at the moment, we got no idea what's going on. The only thing we do know with our step 4 clubs, Hertford and Welwyn Garden City, there's supposed to be a meeting tomorrow evening at 7:00 via Zoom when the leagues will discuss the implications of the new tier system, and a vote will be taken on restarting the leagues or not, by the sound of it, which is a little bit worrying considering we were all just gearing up this time last week to hey, football's going to be back.
Yeah, I mean, that's what everyone was expecting. Southern League was going to be starting on the 12th. Isthmian was going to be starting on the 19th. Obviously, the government have said these tier systems will be reviewed every 2 weeks. So there will be a review on the 16th of December, which is just before the Isthmian started. But, will the Southern League start on the 12th? We don't know. We know there's some Isthmian League teams that were hoping to get a game in before the 19th because they were told they could get a game in if it was all agreed between the clubs and the league was given prior notification. So, I mean, tomorrow night's meeting is going to be really, really important as to where we go.
Yeah, I think, there's been 2 curveballs thrown in there by this tier 2 system and tier 3 system. For the Isthmian League, obviously, is they do have teams in tier 3 because those teams are all in Kent, which is, one of the few regions in the south of England that's in tier 3. And tier 2, this whole thing about bars can only serve alcohol with a substantial meal, table service, and as far as we're aware, you can't even open your tea hut to give a takeaway cup of tea at a football match, which is just crazy. And then, you can just take takeaways and consume them off the premises. Well, the premises is the football ground. So I think that the 2 concerns are that you can't get a secondary income out of tier 2. And in tier 3, you're not going to be allowed any fans in, which is obviously your primary income.
Yeah, I mean, I think this T-bar thing is the one that I find completely ridiculous. I mean, a T-bar, it's outside. It's generally served from a hatch or a mobile unit. So what on earth is wrong with that? What is wrong with serving someone a cup of tea and a Mars bar? Obviously, other chocolate bars are available on request. But what's wrong with that? For serving someone that and then going to take their place in the stand or take their place on the terrace. It's absurd, Pete.
Yeah, just, I mean, I know they're not part of the Isthmian League, but the secretary of Biggleswade United summed it all up for me when he tweeted, clubs have also been informed they cannot open tea huts that are in the ground. Absolutely ridiculous. I can go to the end of my road and take away a mammoth portion of fish and chips, then go to a cafe and have a takeaway coffee and cake, but can't have a cup of tea in a football ground. I think that kind of sums it up for me.
I think it does completely. Yeah, it's such a ridiculous rule, and I don't know if there is going to be any sort of government meeting or a lobby from these clubs to the FA and to the government, but it really needs looking into, and it needs reconsidering for the sake of all these clubs, because are they going to survive by just taking gate money? I really don't know.
Yeah, and I think also, we're going to go ahead and look at some of the fixtures that have been announced, and a lot of the gate money is going to be on a Tuesday night, which we know is notoriously not the night to get your big crowds in the level of non-league football that we follow. I mean, the Isthmian League problem is that, they've got the South East division of the Isthmian League, and 10 of the 19 teams in the South East division, which is at the same level as Ware and Hertford in the Isthmian League Division 1 Central. 10 of 19 in that division are in Kent, so they're in Tier 3. So, you've got Sevenoaks, Faversham, Whitstable, Ramsgate, Herne, Ashford United, Sittingbourne, VCD Athletic, Hythe Town and Phoenix Sports, who are all suddenly in Tier 3. So, in theory, they can't travel to meet the other 9 teams who are in Tier 2. They're not allowed any fans in anyway. And so, I don't know. What do you do? It's and the other thing that comes to mind is that what happens if your match officials live in Kent and they want to travel to, London, Essex, Hertfordshire, wherever? Well, if your players live in Kent, I mean, what happens then? I know things just such a jumble.
I think this is the confusion, because from what I understand, if you're in Tier 3, they're saying you're advised not to travel to different areas. But if you're working, you can. So, for match officials, for players, would it be classed as work? As far as I'm concerned, it's work. But officially, are they allowed to travel between, a Tier 3 area and a Tier 2 area? I don't think this is, like we were saying earlier, this is why it needs real classification. And you touched on that South East division. And you mentioned earlier about, the northern areas, most of that being in Tier 3. Well, what happens if there's certain leagues that can get completed, but certain leagues that can't, because, they're not allowed fans in and those leagues aren't starting? Everything is just thrown out the window.
Yeah, I mean, you've got it with the Isthmian League. So we look at the Isthmian League South Central, which obviously we're interested in because that's where Ware and Hertford are. Well, actually, there isn't a problem because all the teams are in Tier 2. So they're all in the same boat. And the issue is this thing about secondary spending of food and drink within the ground. So that's a big issue, but that's the only one you've got to face. But as you say, you've got another division in the same league at the same level that suddenly got the majority of its teams in Tier 3. So, and you go into the Premier League, the Premier and the Isthmian, they've got Grey Wanderers, Folkestone, Invicta and Margate are all in Kent as well. The only hope to some way of getting out of this is on the 16th of December, suddenly Kent's put into Tier 2 and the Isthmian League breathe a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah, I mean, but we're all living in that hope that, these areas come down a tier. And it all depends on this R number and, the cases, et cetera, And I get the feeling, Pete, that, the government just says, picks an area and says, picks a number out of the hat and says, right, we'll bung them in that tier. Because there are certain areas in certain tiers with a bigger R number. So there might be somewhere in Tier 3, for example, that has a lower R number of some area in Tier 2. I don't understand it. I really don't.
No, there's a lot of geography about it as well, because, us in East Herts, with greatest respect to the people in West Herts, we've got more in common with Essex because we're right on the border. Whatever goes in Essex is more likely to go in East Hertfordshire, whereas you're in West Hertfordshire, you're looking at Buckinghamshire, you're looking at other parts of the country. So, Hertfordshire's got a million population, hasn't it? It's extremely, wide in terms of its geographical stretch. So, I don't know. Hopefully this meeting tomorrow night will sort some of it out. I mean, interestingly, we look at, we've been talking about the Isthmian League. When we go to the Southern League and you look where Welwyn Garden City are at, and it's probably even more difficult in their division, but you've got two teams, Hales Owen and Coleshill, who are virtually Birmingham, the two of them, and they're both in Tier 3. What are you going to do with the division where you've got, 18 teams in Tier 2 and 2 teams in Tier 3? I mean, how's that going to work?
Yeah, I mean, there are people that have said, it's an unfair advantage for, some teams to be allowed crowds, some teams not to be allowed crowds. I don't know if they're, arranging a meeting and arranging a vote, because obviously, like we said earlier, they are planning to start a week ahead of the Isthmian. So it's, let's see what they come out and say. I've not seen any communication from them, Pete.
No, not at all. I mean, I suppose the other thing to throw in the hat, which, we've got a really big vested interest in, is that the FA Trophy, which we spoke about last week, where they're trying to slam sort of 3 rounds in 11 days or whatever. And it seems to be, all systems go. Nobody's actually mentioned that. Hey, we've got to get the trophy played. But surely, you're going to look at it holistically with the league fixtures as well, not just, trying to crash through an FA competition.
Yeah, I mean, I did see something about the FA Vase going ahead, but I've not seen about the trophy. So I would presume from that they were planning the same for the FA Trophy. But once again, nothing from the FA on it either. So, yeah, it's all about wait and see, Pete. I think really it's all a bit hit and miss, isn't it, as to what is actually going on, and hopefully during this coming week we'll have a little bit clearer communication.
Well, certainly. And, let's hope so, because the fixtures have been reorganised in the Isthmian League for a possible start date of Saturday the 19th. And, big talking points just about that the way they have been reorganised. If you look at Hertford's fixtures now, Saturday the 19th, Bedfont away, Boxing Day FC Romania away, Monday 28th, Barking at home. Well, they're more or less as were. Okay, not a lot's changed there, but I'll tell you, a lot's changed in January, because there's going to be 8 games in January for Hertford, 5 away, 3 at home, Bracknell, Chertsey and Ware, the local derby, which we'll talk about in a minute, 26th of January, and a visit to Harlow, but 8 games in January.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. I think it's the same for most clubs in the league. And it seems like it's done with the view in mind that there's going to be a few cancellations due to the weather and stuff like that, with the possibility of fitting them in sort of February, March, April. But that's a lot to ask for these teams, to potentially have 8 games in 31 days.
Yeah, we've got Ben Hurd coming up a little bit later. It'll be really interesting to get his views on that, because I guess also you're putting 8 games in 31 days with teams that have not had much chance to train before they've started to get back into league action. So in terms of injuries and things like that, it's not only Hertford, by the way, Ware have got 8 games in January as well. Home games, big home games, Westfield and Hanwell at home, 2 local derbies, visit Harlow Saturday the 16th, and the East Herts derby, let's talk about that a little bit, 26th of January against Hertford. We got Paul Halls's comment on it last week, didn't we? Tuesday night. Why? East Herts derby, Tuesday night. It's going to cut your crowd down.
Yeah, we've said it plenty before. We know Paul's said it plenty before. And the sad thing is, at the moment, it looks like it's going to be limited to a crowd of 400. I mean, we know, there was, I think it was 608, I think it was at Hertford last year for that game. Although, we know that was on a Saturday. But it's, play it on a Saturday. Play it, like we've said before, Easter Monday, Boxing Day, a bank holiday. Get that crowd in. Get people supporting the team. And And at the moment, in this current climate, you want a bigger crowd for these teams. You want them to be getting as many people in through the gate as they possibly can to make up for all this money that they're losing out on.
Yeah, and the way this one's building up, I mean, we're going well, Hertford going well. We've got a real competitive game here, haven't we, as well, between two local rivals. So, thankfully, the second East Herts derby is scheduled for Saturday, 20th of March at Wadsham Park. But, who knows what's going to happen. And, we all know what's going to happen also in January when, you may be trying to fit all these fixtures in case a few games are going to get called off. Well, they're not going to get called off at where, but they are going to get called off elsewhere in the league. And I just can't help but think that you've suddenly reorganised all your fixtures about 3 times, to fit in lock-ins, and you're just going to have to do it all over again. Fans aren't going to know whether they're coming or going.
No, I mean, and the thing is, it's for these players as well. I mean, especially considering, sometimes if they've got an away game, I mean, Hertford, they've got, 3 away games on the trot, the 12th of January away at Uxbridge, 16th away at Chalfont, the Tuesday the 19th away at Ashford. And considering they might have to take, time off work, leave work early, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden to find out a couple of hours before kickoff, the game's postponed, and then it's rearranged for another Tuesday night where they might have to take time off. It's so inconvenient. You've got to consider these players have got full-time jobs. They're playing Saturday, Tuesday, and they've got full-time jobs as well. And it makes it so difficult for all our managers to get a team out as well, I would imagine.
Yeah, it does make you wonder why, the heavy month wasn't perhaps March when, you'd think the weather would be a little bit kinder. And because you've stretched the season out till the end of May, you'd still have a chance perhaps to catch up on some of those games. But we will see. We'll see how it goes. I mean, Welwyn Garden City, by the way, looking at their fixtures, things haven't changed a great deal in terms of Southern League at the moment. I mean, Saturday the 12th supposed to be at home to Didcot in the league. Bedford Town away on Saturday the 19th. Saturday the 26th, Barton Rovers away. Got Hensford, of course, in the FA Trophy next week, Tuesday the 8th, which we hope will go ahead. But again, I don't know. It's very strange. And when we look at the Essex Senior League, well, the Essex Senior League have said they'll return on Saturday the 5th, this coming Saturday. However, the league will be suspended should the region enter a mix of Tier 2, 3 or Tier 3 and the next government review on the 16th of December, as it's not financially viable for clubs. And the interesting thing about the Essex Senior League is, of course, the Essex Senior League, you would have thought, oh, well, if Essex goes into Tier 3, you've got a problem. But actually, you've got London and Hertfordshire involved in there as well. So, that could be every bit as difficult as the Isthmian League. Yeah,
it's going to bring some difficulties if any of them areas goes into Tier 3. Obviously, they've got the benefit of, these areas so far. They've not entered the top tier at the moment, but if they do, then that's going to be cancelled as well.
Yeah, the only thing I did read was that evidently the tier system is due to end on the 2nd of February, but as for whether that will happen or not, who knows? In which case, things may be a little bit clearer on the 2nd of February. I mean, hopefully we got a vaccine and all that stuff's occurred as well. But quite then, whether you will be able to save the season, well, that's really open to question.
The thing is that, I mean, will these leagues, we know Symon extended the league, Southern League haven't, but, will they look to extending the leagues a little bit more, maybe for some of them to the end of May or mid-June, but again, that brings up all sorts of problems again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has a massive knock-on with the following season because, you're almost into pre-season when you've ended the previous season. And also, I think it was Paul who alluded when he was talking to us, let's put football aside. If we are allowed to travel, this summer 21, then, there's going to be a hell of a lot of people that are going to want to go away as well. And, these guys have got jobs, they've got families, got other commitments, and why not? So, there'll be another added difficulty.
Yeah, of course. And like you say, it'll be a short pre-season, or a short turnover from one season to the next. Like you say, everyone trying to squeeze in, their holiday time, and time is, it's not just about holiday time. It's time spent with the family as well. And obviously, people can do that at the moment, but it's not a proper time because obviously, everyone's stuck inside, and you can't go anywhere because everywhere's closed. So people want to spend quality time doing stuff with their families as well, and it's just not nice, Pete, for everyone, is it?
No, we're just going to have to keep a watching brief on it and keep our fingers crossed. And, obviously, I think a major part of next week's show is going to be discussing what's decided tomorrow night at the meeting that they're going to be having. Let's move on to our third lockdown report. We were looking at our Step 4 teams. We've done Ware and Hertford. So this evening, the turn of Welwyn Garden City, the Citizens, 11th place in the league come lockdown, played 10 points. Goal difference +2. They've got games in hand on all but two of the teams above them. Last season at the same time, brilliant run, played 16 points, but didn't have an FA Trophy run thrown into that, which obviously this year has been a real highlight for them. 2 defeats so far this season. At Wantage, we'll admit they didn't play first game of the season, and they're at Bedworth, where things kind of caught up with them with the goalkeeper situation. 2 goals up, 3-2 down, and it's been a solid start.
Yeah, it has. It's been fantastic. I'm sure Nicky will be happy with how they've gone. Yeah, Wantage, like you say, they didn't turn up, and I know he was really disappointed with that. But I think last time out against Bedworth, like you say, they went 2-0 up. Lee Close was in goal. Charlie was injured in the FA Trophy game against Horsham, and their reserve keeper couldn't make it up there in time. So Lee Close went in goal. It was just unfortunate. Lost 3-2. It was 3 late goals, and they had one late equaliser disallowed as well, which was unfortunate for them. But overall, I think they've done well. Couple of FA Cup games. First game in the preliminary round against Saffron Walden Town, beat them 2-0. And then Pete, you was there for the Bishop Stortford game where they went out on penalties.
Yeah, very unfortunate to do so as well. I mean, there was absolutely nothing between the two sides. Stortford went on to have a good cup run, didn't they? But, it really was just a lottery at the end, decided with the penalty shootout because, Bishop Stortford from a step above, they were every bit equal to them, and things gone their way a little bit more on the night. Could easily have won the game. But, when they've then moved into the FA Trophy and set club history, you can't do better than that, can you? Getting through to first round for the first time ever in the first round proper of the FA Trophy. Go to Horsham, team from Step 3, level up, and a memorable afternoon. Not very memorable for me, unfortunately, but as far as the team went, a very memorable afternoon. And now set up this tie against Hensford, who, again, are from the level further up, but have been struggling. They sat their manager just before lockdown, and, we're coming out of this lockdown period, and got a great chance of going even further. Yeah,
they have. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hensford have struggled. I think they've won their last couple of games. They maybe turned the corner a little bit. But if this game does go ahead, like you say, he's straight out of lockdown. The teams might have had 1, maybe 2 training sessions together, and it's going to be a really open tie, Pete.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely open tie, and, looking forward to it because, whatever happens at the meeting tomorrow or whatever, we really are, fingers crossed, we'll have some 90 Minutes live on that particular evening. I mean, when we look at the squads, we know Nicky likes to juggle his squad a bit in terms of players coming and going. I mean, notable departures from last season's team. Charlie Jones, the goalkeeper, he's now at Newport Bagnall. Jordan Watson, who kind of popped up at Ware pre-season a little bit, but hasn't had a lot of football there. Callum Stead kind of major departure. And, he was a class player. 10 appearances, 6 goals for Hitchin Town at the next level up. So, he got 11 in 30 games for Citizens last season. And then Eusebio da Silva, FC Romania, hasn't really had a chance to settle in, but he's got 2 goals in his 2 appearances. So, a few notable departures from the squad.
Yeah, and I'm sure at the beginning of the season, Nicky was perhaps thinking they would be missed. But I mean, you mentioned Charlie Jones leaving. I mean, they've had Charlie Crowley come in, and he settled in straight away fantastically. We know how good he is because we saw him at Ware at the beginning of last season. He moved on from there to Waltham Abbey, and now he's turned up at Welwyn Garden City, and he's been fantastic for them, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Top-notch keeper. I mean, played 22 games for Waltham Abbey last season. And, basically, it was very difficult Ware, wasn't it? He was going to be second choice behind Callum Kitchker. And, we think he's certainly one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and it was really tough for Charlie to get a game. So he went to Waltham Abbey, he did well there, and he's been excellent so far this season with the Citizens. Carl Mentz has come back after his spell at Bedford Town. He's such an important player. And, I don't think you can see a more imposing player in non-league football than Carl Mentz, can you?
No, he's got to be 6'4", something like that, if not more. And I mean, you've said plenty of times in commentary, Pete, he wins every single header, doesn't he? He is absolutely fantastic.
And also very versatile. I mean, you slot him in at right back and he's not outblazed at all, so he's a very versatile player. As far as the kind of other end of the pitch concerned, Patrick Akwasi came in, former Enfield Town Northwood player. Robbie Buchanan had experience with Baldock, Biggleswade. Patrick Tishkala, who actually had 4 games at Hertford last season, started at St Albans. I think I'll pick out Robbie Buchanan. He's a bit of a pocket rocket and a player that can cause some real problems down that right-hand side.
Yeah, I think he's been fantastic. He's impressed us, and he's come in, settled straight in, and looked really, really good. And he's a fantastic addition. I'm sure Nicky's very pleased with how he's performed.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Now, I think he gets fairly a little bit of a fan favourite as well for his, really is a 100% player. I mean, there were a few players, Sam Marfo, Ben Spranger and Larry Balogan all came in more or less before lockdown, so we haven't really had a chance to take in anything from them. Malcolm Podier, former Enfield Town and Northwood player, Abushan Pant from London Tigers, Greg Adina, who's former Barnet youth player, re-signed again from last season. They're all kind of there with strengths in depth. But I guess one thing that's happened also big at the club that we should say was the emergence of the under-23 side, because decided to put the under-23s in the Hart Senior County League. They're 11th in the Premier Division, 9 games, 8 points so far. But that was a big move for them to move from youth football up to under-23 level in the Hart Senior County League.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big step up for them as well. I do want to quickly touch on one player who came up from there, Ryan Doherty, because he came off the bench in the game against Kempston Rovers, performed really well there. I think he came on after about 60 minutes, if I remember rightly, and then he played in the next game, the FA Trophy game against Horsham, gets a Man of the Match award. I mean, he's been fantastic, and he's received some rave reviews from everyone in the club and the fans as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, when he came in on that game we commentated on against Kempston when Lee Close went off with a muscle injury. And I've not seen Ryan Doherty before. And I thought, where's this boy come from? Because he just slotted in like a hand in a glove. I mean, he was absolutely perfect in that game. And he looks a real prospect. He's got the physical presence. He reads the game well. And, he's an exciting player.
Yeah, absolutely. Future's bright, and hopefully, during the season, we might see 1 or 2 more coming up from that under-23 side.
Yeah, I think Harrison Gage has been knocking a few goals in, so I think he's a possibly likely candidate. Obviously, Brodie Garrington when he gets back fit again. And I guess also, thinking of that's the centre half and the defensive position, not to forget that obviously Dylan Abengo went early in pre-season. I saw him got that injury against Royston Town. When they played on the 3G pitch over at London Tigers. And, he's been out ever since. And, he's been an important part of that squad as well.
Yeah, he has. And I mean, they have been a bit unlucky with injuries this season as well, haven't they? There has been times in games this season when they've had two or three key players missing. And that's obviously not helped things either.
Yeah, I think Dave Gainley's side, George Ironton particularly were missing. Obviously, Lee Close out at times as well. And it's been difficult for them. Hopefully, one thing Lockdown 2 has done is allowed to get everybody hopefully fit again and back out there, because when they do get everybody fit, I mean, that's an imposing team. As we had Dave Coates on the other week, didn't we? And still a feeling that they are punching above their weight for a small town team, but they're a team that everybody takes seriously now as step 4 in the Southern League.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're settled in that league. They've done well, and everyone, I think, from their performances last season, has like you say, stepped up and realised, they are contenders, and they need to be taken seriously, and they're not just there to make the numbers up, are they? I know Dave said to us before that last season they had perhaps surpassed expectations. Nicky said a similar thing, but now they've consolidated themselves.
Yeah, most definitely. And, they've got a squad of, they've got a good squad, haven't they? They've got a squad of players that, play for each other. We've spoken to George Ironton before about this, haven't we? That, sometimes you do, unfortunately, get players in non-league football that may not be there for the right reasons, but none of these guys, these guys are there because they want to be there and they want to enjoy playing their football. And I think it's a great, it's been great to be involved with the club, and hopefully we continue to be, because it's a real nice place to go and watch your football. And the only thing I would urge is more people from Welwyn Garden City go and support your team. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to see some bigger crowds there. Like we've said before, I know when we spoke to Dave last season, the thing that makes it difficult is it is out of the town a little bit, so it does make it that little bit more difficult to draw those crowds in. But I know, as a club, himself, Ray Fivash, everyone, they're working on ways to draw those crowds in. And one thing that did bring them a lot of attention, Pete, was, I think it was a couple of months ago now, they was on various other media outlets about their new sponsorship deal as well, weren't they?
Yeah, obviously the Utilita Stadium is called now. Utilita taking an interest in grassroots non-league football. And, that was great bit of publicity. They had David James down there, didn't they? Local lad who, did say he was going to help out his local football team. So hopefully somebody can hold him to that. And, any form of publicity is good, isn't it? And as you say, it's difficult. I worked in Welwyn Garden City for 23 years and worked with a lot of people who had absolutely no idea there was a football team. So, it is, something that you just need to drive into people. And also the level that they're playing at. I don't think people quite realise, playing teams like Hales Owen and your Bedford Towns and whatever. These are big non-league teams that they're playing up against.
Yeah, that's it. It's just about spreading the word, within the local community. And I know that, Welwyn Garden City, they have got a special celebration, this year, haven't they? So hopefully they can get themselves involved in that and, spread that word a little bit further within the community.
Yeah, it's all about, the football club being part of the community, isn't it? So, we will hopefully be at the Utilita on the 8th of December. And we will be there watching FA Trophy action, and it will be 90 Minutes Live in association with Sam's Fish and Chips, One Road Ware. Don't forget about them, because Sam's sponsoring our coverage and has bought us some new gizmos as well, which will allow us to do joint commentary that we're really looking forward to. So let's have a look at the Isthmian League, by the way. Manager of the month for September-October was announced in the South Central Division, with 4 wins and a draw from their 5 league matches. It's the Bracknell Town will be in 5th place at the restart, 3 points off the top. And but they'll still have 3 matches in the hand, legacy of a cup run, which saw them reach the 3rd qualifying round of the FA Cup and run in the FA Trophy, which still continues, which has earned manager Bobby Wilkinson the award for manager of the months of September and October in Isthmian South Central. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, congratulations to Bobby. Very well deserved. We've said about the great start that they've made, and I'd say let's hope it's not that manager of the month curse on him, but I might be a little bit biased, Pete.
Yeah, I don't know. So, we're at a very good time as well, but I wonder if Paul Halsey quietly sits at home saying, okay, I'm glad I didn't get that one, because you know what manager of the month does. There was also the Golden Gloves Award for September-October's South Central Division, went to Tooting and Mitcham, who've by far the meanest defence in the pitching in Isthmian South Central so far this season. 7 matches played. They've only let in a miserly 3 goals, and 2 of them we know because they came on opening day against Hertford, didn't they? So even more bigger feather in Hertford's cap for that one. Kept clean sheets in 5 of their last 6 matches. Bedfont Sports, Staines, FC Romania, Harlow and Ashford Town. And so Gary Ross is the man in possession of the goalkeeper's shirt there. But he says he can't take all the credit. So congratulations go both to him and those who stand just in front of him. But, that's a real feather in Hertford's cap, but also fair play to Tooting and Mitcham after a poor start to the season to do that.
Yeah, I guess it makes that victory on the opening day that little bit more special for Hertford as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. The top league scorers, by the way, in the Isthmian League, this counts all the divisions, not just South Central. Worthing on top with 22 goals. Cray Wanderers second with 21. Ware third with 20. So, they're doing it again. They were up there at the end of last season. The only difference was, of course, that, Liam Hope had most of the goals last season. This season, they're coming from absolutely everywhere. Yeah,
they are. That's always a good sign, like we were saying to Paul last week. And the thing is, we know they were up there with not just the top scorers in the Isthmian League, but they was up there in the top scorers in the whole country last year, weren't they?
Yeah, and I think probably will be again the way things have gone. When you consider Liam's been out injured most of the time, and he scored once this season. He scored 30 goals last season, so be interesting to see how things develop. Talking of goal scorers, we were going to mention a notable one who sadly passed away in the week.
Yeah, very, very sad. We mentioned obviously a couple of weeks ago about sad passing of Ray Clements, but last Wednesday we lost one of what I would say the greatest footballers to grace the planet, Pete, Diego Maradona. I wasn't lucky enough to see Pele play during his career. There's always going to be that debate between Maradona and Pele, like there is now between Ronaldo and Messi. But for me, he was absolutely fantastic, and I judge the greatest players by someone I have actually seen play, not necessarily live at a stadium, but live in a game, and he was amazing. The things he could do with the football was incredible, really was, and wow. Very sad day. Obviously, he did have his issues, but to lose a footballing great like that is always a sad moment. And one thing I will say, Pete, it was 15 years to the day that he died when another great in George Best passed away.
Yeah, absolutely. I noted that as well, which, again, very sad for a number of reasons, wasn't it? In terms of George Best. I did see George Best play live once. I was very small at the time. Don't remember it a lot, but I did, and obviously saw a lot on, TV and whatever. And just, both unbelievable talents and, the kind of talents that probably come along once in a generation, if that. And, very sad.
Yeah, it's been obviously we know it's been a tough year, throughout the world, with what's been going on. But Pete, we've lost some legends this year, haven't we, in the football world?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hot on, mentioned Ray Clements, Nobby Stiles just before, and it's always sad. Always sad, but that's life, I'm afraid. But at least they leave the memories, don't they? And they leave things that we can still watch and still marvel at.
That's it, and that's the thing. It's nice because there's been a few videos that have come out recently that I've seen that I've not seen before, and I was just left open mouthed by what I'd seen. It was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing stuff. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other sports that we cover. Hertford Rugby Club put an announcement out after the about the lifting of lockdown, the tier system and whatever, because from their point of view, community sport is now to be allowed again, which is fantastic news for all of us. They say there will be new guidelines to follow and things we'll need to review, but we're looking forward to getting back to training and hopefully more. We're still waiting for more information, both from the government and the RFU. So please bear with us, and we hope to be able to announce how we will restart as safely as possible very shortly. So as we know, very unlikely not going to be in competitive rugby, but at least they can get back out on the training field. The juniors can start playing and, the club can start going a little bit anyway.
That's it, yeah. I mean, that's the important thing, get these youngsters training and, get them playing again. It's good for them as well, isn't it? It's going to be great for them to be able to get some kind of, fitness routine going for them and, see their friends from the clubs again. And hopefully if the senior teams can, do some sort of training again and stuff like that, I imagine they'll arrange a few friendly fixtures with other teams if they're allowed to, Pete.
Yeah, that would be the real hope, wouldn't it? I think that, it was going to be a big season for them, wasn't it? 13 new signings going for a promotion, and it wasn't to be. But, hopefully if they can keep all those guys on board, then, it's been delayed by a season, but still some good times to come at Hertford Rugby Club. As far as basketball's concerned, there was an announcement from British Basketball since this week's government announcement on the return to the 3-tier COVID-19 restrictions. Basketball England has been in regular communication with the Department of Media, Culture and Sport England to confirm the exact detail of what will be permissible in the sport. What we do know is that the Oatland Wolves are in elite sport, so it shouldn't affect them because they're still playing. Obviously, there have been things about fans getting back in to indoor sports venues, which is something which will obviously affect them. And not a lot has been, I can't see a lot on that. There isn't a lot on the British Basketball website, but obviously if they get fans back watching, that really will be good.
Yeah, it'd be fantastic for them, and hopefully there'll be a bit more communication. We know what's going to happen going forward, and I know they're saying indoor music venues and concerts, etc., plays, can start having some sort of crowd. So hopefully they'll be able to as well. And I think once again it just needs that clarification.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was NBL Division 1 action over the weekend where it finished Thames Valley Cavaliers 101, Oatland Wolves at 93. Jordan Santiago's really been piling in the points. Another 33 in that match, 13 rebounds and 4 assists. Kane Daly, 18 points and 4 rebounds. It was all really down to a poor second quarter. They were outscored 36-15. They came storming back 37-21 in the final quarter, but the comeback wasn't quite good enough. But but still just an 8-point reverse at a very good Thames Valley Cavaliers side. So I don't think I'll be too disappointed with that. Santiago, by the way, is tearing it up at the top of the statistics. He's third in season stats for average points already, 26.7 so far. And he's also third in steals with 4.7 a game. So he looks like a rather good signing.
It sounds like he's made a fantastic start, and long may it continue. Hopefully he'll continue that for the rest of the season.
Yeah, most definitely. Sadly, not such good news for the ladies. Oakland's Wolves women's team, the WBBL Cup group stage game at Seven Oaks Suns had to be cancelled. Oakland's forfeited the game because they've still got some players in self-isolation after one member of the team tested positive. So they go down to another 20-0 defeat against Seven Oaks Suns. Disappointing because it's not really their fault, but that's the that's kind of the warm up to the season, if you like, the WBBL Cup. The real stuff is supposed to start against Leicester Riders on the 12th of December. Again, we'll have to wait for the announcement of British Basketball because they're in a national league here that goes all over the country, and there will be teams affected by the Tier 3 thing. So it'll be interesting to see how they work it out.
Yeah, I guess it's just a case of them getting together and seeing if they're going to start again. I don't know if they're going to have a meeting with all the clubs to make a decision, but hopefully it'll be a positive one.
Yeah, I think the one that's standing in good sport is they are the elite level of the women's game in the sport in this country. So hopefully that will stand them in good stead. There was news also from England Hockey, who came out and said that England Hockey continue to work with Sport England, the DCMS and other team sports for clarity on what travel is permitted between areas to understand to what extent outdoor team sports will be allowed to return. Good news that all tiers clubs can return to training from Wednesday the 2nd of December. In tiers 1 and 2, training and matches can resume from December the 2nd. So any activity must comply with our return to play step 5 guidance. So that does seem tentatively to be thumbs up for the return of competitive hockey.
It definitely sounds like it's going to be good, and we know that for our clubs, there's not really that issue of getting a crowd in. So hopefully, taking that into consideration, they'll get restarted on time.
Yeah, hopefully Hertford and Welwyn Garden City will be back in action, and the Hertford girls will be able to use the donut glasses if they haven't already sent them to Boris Johnson, of course.
I think he deserves them. Oh, that's a different story.
That's a totally different story. Before I get yellow carded, shall I call in the referee?
I think you better. Right, welcome back from that break, and we're now joined by Ben Hurd, Hertford Town manager. Evening, mate. How are you and the family keeping?
Well, first of all, good evening. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, very well, thank you. It's been a little bit of a sort of respite, isn't it? Last sort of 4 weeks. I have a newborn son as well, who's he's about 7 months old now. So yeah, he keeps me on my toes, as does my 8-year-old now. So yeah, busy.
That's good. You're keeping yourself busy. What about the academy? Has that been impacted at all? And are the students able to keep training there with all the latest rules?
Yeah, no, nothing really affects us in terms of that day-to-day sort of stuff. No, we've been training throughout 5 days a week. So that's been good. That's been really, really good, to be honest. It's been some sort of sense of normality. And the only thing we obviously can't do is play, competitive sort of opposition. However, we do have obviously in-house games once a week as well. So yeah, trying to keep abreast of it all, but it's not been impacted too much from that front.
Right. And I know you've got trials coming up in a couple of weeks ready for next year's admissions. Obviously, for anyone going to them trials, they need to have a certain level of footballing ability. But how important is the academic side of for them students as well?
Yeah, it's very important in terms of, well, it's a bit of everything, to be honest with you. I mean, I tend to recruit on. You got to remember, we only take 20 a year, so I try and tend to, if I can, as much as I can, is recruit on character more so than ability. Because trust me, I've seen some very good players I've had in the past that have gone nowhere because their attitudes weren't any good effectively, and they didn't want to listen and learn. However, no, it's really important that the education's done really, really well in terms of taken seriously, and they want to achieve in their education as well, because as we all know, football is a short career anyway, and that's if you make it into a professional sort of sphere. So for me, it's the best of both worlds, where you can marry up giving it your best shot to become a footballer, and obviously having opportunity to do so, and then obviously safeguarding your future, if you like. A little bit like Isaac does. Isaac Pedro, the captain, he's doing a degree with us. So he's done 2 years with us previously, and he's into his second year now of doing a degree. For me, that's he gets to train every day, obviously, and he's safeguarding his future career potentially.
Yeah. I mean, when we spoke to Josh a few weeks ago, he talked a bit about the academy to us, but then he did say that yourself, Mark, Colin, you've been giving the players little tasks to do during lockdown, so they're keeping themselves fit. How important is that, that the players do that, and how much have you been keeping in touch with them?
Yeah, very regular. I speak to them all the time, see them all the time in terms of like online and things like that sort of thing. And it's been, and obviously day to day I see quite a few of them anyway. It's been good. We have a really good sort of group in terms of the hungry young players that want to do well. So it won't take much encouragement for them to go and do bits by themselves effectively. So that's pleasing. Then I'm sure I'm like everyone else. I speak probably for everyone in football. We just want to get on with it and just play and just get some games in. We've got obviously the season extended now, and we've got a lot of games. We've only played 7 league games, and we're going into Christmas. So crazy times.
Yeah, it is. You like everyone else. We're missing our football. You're missing it, obviously. But I want to go back. I want to speak about the squad. We've had a few new players. Josh, who we just mentioned. You've had Luke Mewitt come in. Sam Fanian. Luke's a local lad, isn't he? He was at Huddersfield. Sam's coming from Reading. And we'll speak about Luke first of all. He looks like he's settled straight into that squad. He's been fantastic, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, he has. He's a really good guy. It took a bit of persuading him for him to come along initially, but I think in some ways the success from Nick Hayes last year, obviously going into the Football League with Salford, probably helped him a little bit in terms of making up his mind. Really difficult for a goalkeeper because I've played with a lad called Jamie Young, for example, who was with me at Aldershot. I think he played for England under 21s as well. And all of a sudden, he found himself sort of like, going from Football League down to the Conference South and not even playing there at Hayes and Yedden, I think it was. It's such a difficult position because there's one spot. It's not like you can go and fill in somewhere else for someone. Happily enough, that Jamie Young now has played for Brisbane Roar for the last sort of 6-7 years, and I think he's been voted A-League Goalkeeper of the Year a few times. And this is a similar sort of situation that probably Luke finds himself in. Obviously, ideally, he wants to be in professional football still. He's got a really good pedigree, being at Huddersfield for the last 3 years. And I've got to say, he's came in. His personality is really good. He really buys into it. Being a local boy as well. He lives near Seal School. It's a really good story for us, really. And he's by far, in my opinion, the best goalkeeper in the league by far. And we've done very well to get hold of him. His ability now, but also potential ability as well, that I think he'll come good, and he'll hopefully go back into the professional ranks.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously at the start of the season, he was looking for a keeper. He was looking for a striker as well. And I'd say Sam Fanian, he's come in and 5 goals he's got already, and he's done fantastic as well for you, hasn't he?
Yeah, no, he absolutely. He's a missing jigsaw piece for us in terms of how we play. I like Sam a lot. He came recommended from a friend of mine who I trust, which was good. He came in pre-season, and again took a bit of convincing. I think one lesson I think for younger players is that you have academies now, and they, for all intents and purposes, stockpile players. There's an awful lot of professional players now, until they're 23 and don't play any games. And then it becomes a lot harder to go out there into the football world, if you like, and try and make a career for yourself because you've not had that experience. And what I mean by that is that think how many times you're gonna learn in terms of mistakes, in terms of situations, scenarios, good, bad, indifferent, all of those sort of experiences that you're going to take as a young player. are going to stand you in your development and hopefully in good stead as well if you take them in the right way. So for me, like someone like Sam is a really good case in point, is actually go out there and do it. I worked with a lad called Junior Marias a few years ago, who got released by Bournemouth, was at St Albans with me and scored goals at St Albans level, and then Peterborough come and bought him. And this is the same with Sam. I think that he's a young player, he gives us something different. He drops deep quite a lot as well, which I quite like. And I really feel that if he can score goals, a considerable amount of goals, which I think he can, certainly in the team and how we play, I think he can miss out steps and potentially he could also go into the professional game because, but it's going to come through him doing it and making it. He's investing in himself, in my opinion, and he's taken a bit of not a chance, but he's getting into the real world, if you like, in football sense, and he's going out there and trying to make something himself rather than just plodding along in an under-23 team, just haphazardly going anywhere and everywhere, basically.
Yeah, I mean, one other newcomer that has impressed us, Brandy McEwendy. And then a couple of other players who didn't really feature so much last season, Obi and G, which for those listening who aren't aware, it's David Ogbonna and Jurasek Jagdev. How far, how's their performances impressed you this season? How far they've come?
Immeasurably, really, to be honest with you. In terms of Obi, I've almost the old Obi because this one's completely different. And when he does something, when he gets a little bit not ahead of himself or he says something, I'm like, you just be quiet, because I remember when you were rubbish last year. No, he's been brilliant. He's been excellent for us. He gives us something else on the left-hand side. He's everything I want in a wide player. He's quick. He's tenacious. He seems to be honest with you, it's like the pennies just dropped with him very quickly. If I'm brutally honest, he came back in pre-season and it was, okay, he's here. He's joining in pre-season. Okay, let's see how he gets on. And he had to bide his time in pre-season. Wasn't a main starter. And when he did get his chance, it's a great, to demonstrate that to other players as well. He had to bide his time a little bit, got his chance, took it, then found himself back on the bench next week and slowly built up a few more minutes. And he's just really, to be honest with you, he's just really sort of come of age in some ways because he is what he is as well. He's an exciting player. He's a bit hit or miss with his end product. But if his end product was consistent enough, then he wouldn't be at this level. So we have to understand which level we're at. And we're kind of marrying that with where Obi is at the minute. But he's a young lad again, who's, I think, got a real bright future in the game because, again, I've played with players in the league, if you like, that have had very similar attributes to him. I can think of 2 or 3 that have gone on and haven't had really, really good careers just by being raw pace. It's really difficult to teach raw pace, obviously, and there's not much of it in football anymore, to be honest. We have the inverted wingers and we have midfielders come wingers now rather than out-and-out pacey sort of wide players, and he fits into that bill. But his tenacity of winning the ball back for us is why he's in the team more so now. He's a bit more of an all-action player, which is what I like. And then G on the other side, G is just again, luckily just came to us last year on trial, having been discarded by a couple of clubs in our division. And I liked him straight away. He just gave us a little bit of something different. Again, he's got to learn the game. I think he's come into football a little bit later. But he again offers us some real quality going forward as well. And obviously has pace and what I like, does have a decent end product in terms of his quality as well. So, and then we're quite blessed. We've got Kit Brown as well, who's had to bide his time a little bit. And then we've got Ben Wayman. It's good for me in terms of competition to places. The players, they won't thank me for saying this, but it's good for them as well because it will bring more out of them as well because they have to be better. And competition is a part of football, a part of life, and it doesn't breed contempt because you don't get static effectively. So you have to keep on your toes a little bit. But that's not to say that, one bad game and you're out. I think we've shown that as well. Obi's, had hit or miss games sometimes, but, his sort of past performances have kept him in the team as well. So all in all, it's very competitive in that area of the field. And I'm very pleased with the 4 of them, to be honest with you. And hopefully, it's a long season and we're going to need everybody, certainly with the fixtures that are mounting up now as well. So that'd be, it's only a plus for us to have that depth and quality as well.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the fixtures because the league have said that it's going to restart on the 19th, and that teams could have a game beforehand if it was all agreed. But now, the latest tier restrictions. It's thrown everything up in the air a bit. And there is a league meeting tomorrow evening where they're going to, discuss what they're going to do going forward, and then have a vote on, if they're going to restart or not. Depending on what all the clubs decide. There is the possibility of moving down a tier on the 16th, isn't there? Which is obviously just before the season restarts. But you were saying to us before, you might possibly have a game on the 12th.
Yeah, we're trying to get. I think we've agreed it with Marlow, who we're originally meant to play anyway. We've agreed it with them to play on the 12th at home. So I'm hoping that we can get that one up and running and get back to playing some football. We've also got a friendly next week on Saturday against Oxy Jets on the 5th, which is a 1:00 kickoff, which I think is going to be just a donation from fans, really. I don't think we're going to charge anything formally on a ticket price. It's just going to be whatever fans feel that they want to donate towards a football club, really. But it's a little bit of a celebration of actually coming back to football and, trying to give the fans, just come and watch us play, against a lower league opposition, but nonetheless a good competitive friendly for us to sort of try and get our teeth back into the game.
Yeah, and obviously, restrictions are lifted this week. Are you going to be straight back into training?
Yeah, well, we're a little bit unfortunate in terms of, obviously, we have an AstroTurf bookings, which are on a Monday and a Wednesday. So as far as this lockdown goes, that's not helped us this week at all. So if we can find some availability on Thursday this week, it might be a possibility for us to train. But as I mentioned, we've got the game on Saturday, and then also a lot of the players training every day anyway. So that's a good plus for us as well.
Mm-hmm. And then the 19th, supposed to be playing Bedfont Sports. You've got FC Romania Boxing Day, and then January. We were saying before, you've got 8 games in January. So, like you were saying before, I guess it's important to have that depth in the squad and squad rotation. Not working people too hard, isn't it?
Yeah, we obviously, the fitter you are, the better you're going to recover, the better you're going to play as well. So, hopefully, we just want to get back into it, really, to be honest with you. But you're right, it's not helped us. And probably the frustration is that when you look at the season and the potential fixtures, and I get that, the league are probably countering the fact that there might be some postponements in amongst that sort of foray of games throughout January and February, and they've left sort of March and April and May pretty free midweek. However, you might have thought they might have just staggered it out a little bit more just to help non-league clubs, because we are what we are. We're not professional clubs. We are we're a lot of volunteers. Players don't get paid as much. They've got jobs. They've got other sort of priorities in their lives as well, sort of thing. So you might have thought that just to help us out a little bit, that they might have staggered it a little bit more, because there's still enough room, enough Tuesday nights in those sort of months, March, April, and May, to have rearranged games and postponed games as well. And hopefully, with a vaccine on the horizon as well, you might think that actually you might give an opportunity for teams like ourselves, to earn more money, if you like, by opening up the gates a little bit more. The Ware game comes to mind, and other games potentially later on in the course of the season. So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating, but look, it is what it is, to be honest with you. I'd be happy just to play football. So, and I'm not going to do a Jurgen Klopp on you and start ranting, raving and digging people out. We just have to get on with it and, do everything in our power that we can do. And that's pretty much how I've approached most of my football life, to be honest.
I mean, you mentioned that Ware game, and obviously, at the moment you're limited to a crowd of 400. I mean, all right, it was on a weekend, your home game before, but you had over 600 people there. So, it's a shame that it's going to be on a Tuesday night, isn't it?
What can you do? Yeah, you're right. It is a little bit of a shame. But look, it is what it is. Like I say, it's another game. It's a decent game for us in terms of the rivalry aspect of it. But let's see what happens in terms of restrictions, in terms of things like that sort of thing. If the government can, by that point, it might have, maybe, I don't know, it might be better. I don't know. It literally is a day-by-day basis, really, isn't it? No one really knows until, you get some sort of legislation coming through and telling us what we're going to be doing again for the umpteenth time, and then it's all contradictory anyway, and it's no one really can make head nor tails of most of it. So who knows, mate, to be honest with you.
Do you think there is that worry that the season won't get completed again this year? Between
the lines, I don't think so. No, I think that with with what's going on in the world in terms of, like I say, the vaccines that they're sort of going to be mass rolling out come December, January, February time, I think that gives us optimism. The short term is a little bit more uncertain, I'd say, in the next 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. However, for integrity reasons, I think we have to finish the season now. We can't play 2 seasons null and void, surely. And that's probably what, if I'm reading between the lines, I think the Isthmian League are probably edging their bets a little bit by trying to get in so many games in. So it goes to, if it was the case, it would go to points per game, possibly. And that's maybe why their reasoning is to try and get as many games in January and February, possibly. I don't know. But let's be optimistic. Let's hope that we are going to finish the season and it's going to be a nice, sunny May 22nd and we've had a good season.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so. I mean, let's talk about the season. So far, I mean, you're ninth in the table. You've got 12 points from 7 games. And I do remember you telling us before last year that you didn't look too much at the table. Have you dared to look at it more this season?
It's a little bit more palatable to look at it now, I must say, than this time last year. Yeah, you're not wrong. We can all go, it's better than last year. But to be honest with you, anything would be better than last year. So let's not give ourselves that yardstick to judge us by. So we've come a long way. Don't get me wrong. The ship is sort of pointing in the right direction. It's not, I wouldn't say turn the corner, but it's certainly on the right course. But it's going to take a lot more to get to where I would like to get to in terms of everything. The football club as a whole, and see the team and everything like that sort of thing. I'm very ambitious and never satisfied. It's probably a good thing and a bad thing at times. But no, certainly look, we've made an okay start, and I've got to say, give credit to the players because I think they've been fantastic, and I think there's some points out there that have irked me so far as well, which I think we should have a better return than what we've actually got. The Waltham Abbey game, for example, strikes at me that not only the fact that we've lost the game, we should have won the game. But they're young players, and if you look at everything as a whole and look back a year or 18 months ago, what we were getting ourselves into is come a long, long way. And I think that it's a good story in terms of the players. Isaac Pedro, for example, this time last year, a little bit in and out of the team early on, and then cements himself in the team as captain at 18. Being given a chance. We had Ben Wayman, 16, playing every week. Dane Batt last year at 17, playing every week as well at times. So these boys have come along. They've come. However, again, never being satisfied. They've got a long way to go still as well, and they've always got to start kicking on. It's nice to look back and reflect momentarily, but if you do that too long, the grass underneath you grows, and that's where you need to keep moving forward. Yeah,
I mean, things are a lot tighter at the back. I mean, you conceded 10 goals this season. There was a few more last season, but you have always said, it's a long-term project there. It's not going to be a quick fix. And like you said, things are moving in the right direction. So, I mean, and you've got quite a settled back four now as well, haven't you?
Relatively. We're a little bit short, I'd say, defensively. But the players we've got there, like you mentioned earlier on, Josh Bryant, you've got 2 centre halves of Chris and Harvey, and you've got some old codger out on the right back area. So, dare I say, look, I think Chris Gosling has come in as well. I think he goes under the radar a little bit. I've got to say, I think he's a real warrior. I think he's a good lad. For me, he's a bit of a manager's dream, if you like, because he's a good lad. I speak to him, no problem. He's on a level, and you can talk to him on a level as well. You can give him a little bit of a kick up the backside sometimes. He takes it in the right way as well in terms of how it's meant to be as well. He's quite a grown-up boy, and I suppose he is, and in the grand scheme of things, probably one of the older players. But again, he's learning because he's never really played centre-half before he came here. He was always a centre midfielder. So now he's a centre-half, and he gives us good balance, and he's a leader as well, which is good. And then Harvey as well, he's learning the game. He's got so much enthusiasm. He cares an awful lot about the game, which is really good. And it's just learning. It's just learning it again and just trying to implement that. And but no, they've done really well. So the spine of our team with Luke in goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's not only in defence. I think you're looking strong all over. Midfield's great. And like I said, you've got Sam up front. But with them players that were with you last year, with it being sort of like the first season they was all playing together. How much do you think that's benefited them, especially considering some of them, it was their first season in senior football?
if anyone's listening who doesn't realise what we've done, our average age last year was 18 for many, many, many months of the season. This year it's 19, just by virtue of the fact that we were a year later on. And it gave them great experience. Look, there was too many at one time. I get that. I didn't set out to have an average age of 18. But in all honesty, the players that had in with experience. However, it was the first year, so now we have a little bit more of a structure, if you like, with players now trying to get into that team. So there's young players still coming through now. I can think of 2 or 3 straight away that can count being on the bench because we've got more competition amongst everyone. So, but the experience they had last year wasn't just an average experience; it was horrendous for them. So, to be honest with you, losing 9-1, losing this, that, and the other sort of thing, playing on the worst pitch that probably known to man. They've gone through the right rigmarole of it all, and for them to have that experience now is going to make them so much stronger, like mentally stronger as well. Really, really strong, and that makes them braver for me. So, in some sort of way, in some sort of perverse way, it's been really, really good in terms of their sort of development, in terms of mentality, certainly, and actually knowing that they're good enough, easily good enough for the level. Luke Geimer last year scored double figures in a team that was struggling, and none of them were free kicks or penalties, and he'd done the same with assists as well. So, yeah, we've got some good players, mate, and let's hope we can keep hold of them. Instead, if teams from higher echelons come in for them, then as long as it's the right move for them, then they go with our blessing, and then the next one comes in, we try and do the same with them.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. That first game of the season, or that first competitive game in the FA Cup against Morden Tiptree. We spoke about that. That game was just coming up the last time you was on, but you pushed them all the way in that tie, didn't you? You was a bit unlucky, and I remember you said to me afterwards you didn't want to be known for sort of playing well but losing. But taking into consideration, that result and the performance, do you think that kind of set a precedence for the season?
But yeah, no, I certainly do. I think everything, to be honest with you, I think people coming in back into the club as well, straight away looked at the pitch and thought, wow, that's a nice pitch, because it was gleaming, in the sun as well. The performance was good. I've got to be honest, we deserved to get something out of the game. We pushed them all the way, don't get me wrong, but I still feel that we were, for long periods, the better team as well. And they've obviously went on and had a really good FA Cup run. And I get on really well with their manager. I used to play with him, Wayne Brown. He's a nice guy, and he was very complimentary about us and one or two of the players afterwards as well, Isaac being one of them, actually. So all being all, it was good, and I think that possibly galvanised us. And actually, again, sometimes in life, not just in football, but you need to sort of have a little bit of confidence to know that you can do it. The thought of it sometimes scares you, but then when you go and do it, and then when people go, look, you can do it, you did really well, it gives you that breeds that confidence, and I think that's what came of it. And to be honest with you, the week after, when we went to Tooting Mitcham, I knew we'd win. I genuinely knew we'd win because we were at it, and a little bit like now, talking about football, we haven't spoken about it for a month. It's like, come on, let us back out. We're like caged animals at the minute. Let's get us back out there and playing football, because we want to go and win games. And you know what? From a year ago to now, I'll be dreading games. I'll be thinking, oh no, what are we going to get today? Oh no, how's he going to play? Oh my God, is he going to be hard work today? Oh no, what's the pitch going to be like? But no, thankfully, it's a completely different psyche. And there's so much credit deserves to everyone around the club, though, not just the players and that, they're the ones on show, but there's so much work that goes on behind, around the club all the time. It's literally night and day, and so many good people give up their time to come and help.
Yeah, you mentioned that first league game against Tooting, you beat them 2-1, but you mentioned losing 9-1 last season, which was against Westfield. You beat them 3-1, Ben. How satisfying was that? Did it make it that little bit more special?
I want to give you a boring answer and say, no, it was another game, it was this, that, and the other sort of thing, but no, it was nice. It was nice because, listen, at this level, a lot of teams change from 1 minute to the other, don't they? And obviously, that Westfield team from last year would be probably completely different to the one that they've got now. However, they were top of the league at the time, I think, or certainly within the top two. So to go there, and it wasn't just a result. Like most things in football, it's the manner of the result. So, you can lose games badly and not play very well, and but you can also lose games that you played really well in, and maybe a bit unjust to have lost the game on reflection. But this was a game where we didn't, and you can vice versa. You can win games where maybe you shouldn't have won them, and other games where you absolutely dominate the game, and could have, should have, would have been more. And I think that would fall into the latter of them categories, if you like, that performance. I thought it was exceptional, and I think one of the goals was 24 passes, and every single player touched a Barcelona do that. It'd break the internet probably. So for us, we should maybe make more of it. I'm not a big one of self-publicity, but things like that, it's unheard of at this level. And thankfully for me, it's obviously down the way where I used to play at Aldershot. It's not far from there, and feel free that people that I know from Aldershot, if you like, came to the founder of the new club, if you like, Graham Brooklyn. He come to watch, and some of the comments have been really pleasing. But again, I'm always guarded because I've been in the game long enough to know that it bites you in the bum when you think you've cracked it. And so, it's nice, don't get me wrong, but we've got to be better, and we've got to go and start winning more games and dominating teams more.
Yeah, I mean, let me bring Pete in because I'm sure he's got something he'd like to ask you, Pete.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about a little bit of history, of course, a little bit further down the club with the youth team. I mean, how important was that in terms of first round FA Youth Cup, first time they've ever got as far as they did, to, really establish that production line, I guess?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, it's really kind, and again, a multitude of things sort of came together at sort of pivotal times, and timing is quite key in football. The Morning Tiptree game, then we started to go on the FA Youth Cup run at the same time, and people started to sort of grow a little bit of swell of optimism, and I think they were just probably impressed with how we play, and obviously dispatching teams in the FA Youth Cup with decent scorelines and things like that sort of thing. So for us to then progress into the first round proper, I've got to say, we could have been stronger. I had one or two players that chose to go and play elsewhere, which would have made us stronger, which is disappointing. But at the same time, the players that have come in, a lot of them are first years as well. So next year, they'll still be eligible to play in the FA Youth Cup. So, I'm expecting us to be quite strong next year as well, which would be good. But this is the process. This is what we said we were going to do, and we've got so much more to do. Don't get me wrong, but this is now trying to get that conveyor belt up and running with real quality. And when you think in that team there was two international players, a Georgian international and an Albanian international, let's get some perspective here. Hertford Town, having under 16, under 17, under 18 international players is probably a first for them as well. So, it's like I say, one swallow, but they deserve credit. It's just unfortunate when we went to MK, the circumstances around that, led us to the scoreline, probably not reflecting, definitely not reflecting the game, but nonetheless a good salvage into the FA Cup for the boys to reminisce from years to come, and hopefully next year they can take heed from it and be better.
Yeah, I think it's another sign to us how the club's growing, and just to round off, I mean, the unique relationship that I find that you've got with the fans. I mean, I think we said it to Josh Bryant when he was on. I still don't know any team that goes and literally congratulates the fans after every game, win, lose or draw. Yeah,
you should though, because I've always, whenever I played, I always had a good affinity with fans. Because that's what I am at heart. I'm a Tottenham fan, as you know, and I've just watched Arsenal lose, which is even better. But it's, for me, you should always go and thank the people that pay to come and watch you play. It's a privilege, and it won't always be there. And for us to go and then try and entertain fans, for us to go and show our appreciation to them, whether they come, around the M25 to a Tuesday night away game in Staines or wherever, or they come on a Saturday down at the park, then it's we can, at least we can do is go and show our appreciation, and it is genuine. It's not done for any other reason. It's just genuinely pleased with, because losing 9-1 and they're still coming to give us money afterwards. We owe them a debt of gratitude, to be honest with you. So it's really, really important that we show that sort of level of gratitude and appreciation. And for me, it's Borussia Dortmund do it, actually, Pete, if you must know. But they sit there and be entertained by them. So I'd like the crowd to get swelled even more and be more vociferous and boisterous as well, and more drums, more noise. That's what we want to create, that sort of atmosphere as well.
That's it. We could be the Borussia Dortmund of East Hertfordshire, I guess. But anyway, Ben, it's a pleasure as always to have you on. And like everybody, we just can't wait to get out there and watch the boys again. Thanks a lot for joining us.
No, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. Brilliant. And fingers crossed, everything will sort itself out.
Yeah, let's hope so, boys. Anyway, let's hope so. Seriously, thanks for having us on. I think you've done. You guys have been brilliant as well in terms of like your interest in us as well. And it's our pleasure to sort of like try and help you guys out as well. And obviously, I think you help us out loads as well. So it's really good. It's genuine. So thank you.
No,
and, we couldn't do it with people without people like you, Ben. So it's all thanks to people like yourself as well, mate.
No, thank you. And coming down to the ground and things like that sort of thing, you give up your time and things like that sort of thing. So it's I think it's really good what you're doing, and it's needed as well. And I think there's more of a swell now for non-league football as a whole. Anyway, I think if you look at the fans that have come back to us, if you like, as well, some of them are surprised in terms of the quality of the football they're being seen, the entertainment they're getting. And let's be honest, you're watching the Premier League here, and it's really hard to relate to at times, isn't it, with their actions and how they sort of how they view sort of like fans. There isn't that much care, is there, basically? And if we can sort of tap into that a little bit more, then so much more to do, boys. So much more to do. It gives me a headache thinking about it, but exciting at the same time. So loads to build on, and we're getting it slowly.
Right, welcome back, and thanks to Ben for that chat. Fantastic as always, and always good to chat with Ben, and hopefully we'll see him soon. But Pete, it's that time of week again. Let's go for a donut.
This is East Herts Radio, 90 Minutes, Donut of the Week.
Right, last week's winner, and this was a bit of a landslide, Pete. It was the Orlando City penalty debacle. They got a record winning percentage of 73%. Fully deserved, I think.
Oh, fully deserved. I mean, you could write a sitcom around it, couldn't you? I mean, 20 minutes worth of complete sitcom, wasn't it? So, well deserved for them. We got 3 this week, haven't we? Shall I kick off?
Yes, certainly, go for it.
Okay, well, having mentioned Boris Johnson before we went into the break, I'm going to mention him and the government again, mainly because of the return to matches and what they have said, because supporters will evidently have to sign a code of conduct to safeguard against spreading the coronavirus when they return to stadiums. And that could include a ban on singing. The Premier League wrote to each club outlining new measures for when grounds reopen. The document sent to top flight sides states this may include singing, shouting and alcohol consumption. Now, I've got a bit of a question, first of all, that one, who's going to enforce it? And 2, if everybody's wearing a mask as they should do, how are you going to be able to tell whether they're singing or not?
Yes, that's a good point. I'd not thought of that. Yeah, you're not going to be able to see who's singing. You say it wasn't me, it was that bloke sitting 10 seats alongside me or something. But yeah, you're not going to be able to stop fans singing, are you? I mean, come on.
I don't think so, but I must admit it's even worse in the US, evidently, because in Major League Soccer, spectators have to sign a health questionnaire saying they won't take legal action against clubs or the league if they contract coronavirus while attending a game. So, Solicitors Charter again there in USA Major League Soccer.
Well, we know the Americans do like a lawsuit, don't they? So perhaps that's the idea behind it.
Yeah, they like a penalty shootout as well, but there you go.
They do. I'm going to go with my one, and I'm going to nominate Jurgen Klopp. He had an absolute rant in the game on Saturday after Liverpool drew with Brighton. And he particularly had a go at Des Kelly, who was interviewing him. And, he was saying that it's not fair that they play on Wednesday. in the Champions League. They travel back, then they've got a 12:30 game on the Saturday, and he was saying, or it seemed he was saying that he said to Des Kelly, you choose this, and it's obviously it's not him that chooses it, but the broadcasters speak to the Premier League. They all decide. The Premier League votes on what games are going to happen. But the thing, he's complaining about playing Wednesday, Saturday. Think about all our local players, Pete. In our non-league teams, they're playing Saturday, Tuesday. They've got a full-time job where they're working 40 hours a week or whatever as well. Do you hear them complaining? Plus, they're training as well. They don't complain. So what's he on about? What's he got to complain about?
Jurgen, step 4, football teams, and step 5, 8 games in January. How would you cope with that, mate? It's crazy, isn't it? It's got no reason at all to complain with the size of squads and everything. Oh, well, that was Jurgen Klopp. I think this should really be throw the dummy out the pram award rather than a donut, but it goes to Bruges' Emmanuel Dennis. Because Emmanuel Dennis was left out of Club Bruges' Champions League clash against Borussia Dortmund last week for storming off the team bus after not being able to sit where he wanted. That's according to Belgian outlet Het Lasse News, who sensationally claimed Dennis reacted angrily on the team bus because he wasn't allowed to sit in his preferred seat. Bruges have placed strict measures on the team bus amid the coronavirus pandemic. 23-year-old who scored in his side's 2-1 victory over Zenit St. Petersburg on matchday 1 will reportedly be fined for his outburst. What was that all about? I didn't do that when I was 12.
That's ridiculous. That's like like you say, you don't do it when you're 12. It's like saying, I can't sit on the back seat. I'm not going on the school trip. But why? It's a seat on a bus. You're going to a game. Sit somewhere else. Get over it.
Yeah, I think that some managers may have made him work. Imagine doing that when Brian Clough was around. He would have made him walk behind.
I think he'd have been out of the club, faster than he could have said, give me that seat.
So those are the nominations anyway. HM government for the you can't sing anymore if you go and watch a football match. We've also got Jurgen Klopp for thinking he's hard done by, and Emmanuel Dennis of Bruges, who thought he was really hard done by because he didn't get his favourite seat on the bus. They're our 3 nominations for the Donut Awards. I suppose the only thing that comes to mind, with donuts is we've talked all this stuff about Tier 2 and being able to serve alcohol and whatever. Is a donut a substantial meal?
Oh, I think we should make it so, Pete. I think we should start a lobby to allow clubs to sell donuts as a substantial meal and open up the clubhouse.
Yeah, I mean, some of those we've had at Hertford, thanks very much to them. They're pretty big stuff, so who knows? Okay, I've got some fixtures to mention. First time that's happened in a while, wasn't it? So let's go through the fixtures for Saturday, the 5th of December, fingers crossed. In the Essex Senior League, Hoddesdon Town against Cockfosters, Salisbury Town against Southend Manor, and St Margaretsbury against Enfield. As we heard from Ben Hurd, there's friendly at the Park, Hardingford Berry Park, 1 o'clock kick-off, Hertford Town against Oxley Jets from the South Midlands League Premier Division. There's also some action in the Hart Senior County League, Premier Division, Letchworth Garden City Eagles against Hoddesdon Town Reserves, Wingate Finchley Development against Ware Sports, and 1 at Wadson Park, Bush Hill Rangers against Welwyn Garden City under-23s. In Division 1, Hertford Heath entertain Oxley, Standard and Puckridge against Bunningford Town, and in Division 2, Cuffley Seniors Reserves against Ware Sports Reserves. Essex Olympian League, Division 5, the Roydon boys are underway. They're playing at home to Lee Ramblers Reserves. Nothing, by the way, for the Hertford District League, so I hope there'll be something coming out from them this week about when things are going to resume there. There's also some basketball to tell you about. NBL Division 1, the home game for Oatland Wolves against the Bradford Dragons. So at last, some live sport.
All positive signs, Pete, all positive signs. And let's hope, they'll go ahead. There's no problems in the coming days, and we can actually, next week, do a show and tell you some results and give you the lowdown on what's happened.
Oh, that's going to be a novelty, isn't it? We'll look forward to that very much. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Ben Hurd. It's always a pleasure. And fingers crossed, it all gets sorted out tomorrow night. And this time next week, we're looking forward to the resumption of football.
Cheers, everyone. Good night.